Hello guys, welcome to the Osha Academy bonus CV training. So today you are going to be getting trained on how best to prepare a CV, the do and the don'ts in preparing a CV. Now, one of the important things to note in preparing a CV is that the essence of you preparing a CV is for that CV to get you to the table of consideration. So always have that in mind to prepare your CV in the best way you can in order for that CV to get you to the table of consideration. And in the course of this training, I'm going to let you know some of those things that you can impute in your CV and the things you shouldn't be imputing in your CV that can help get you to that table of consideration. So you're going to be beginning with the name. Now, the name of your CV can be as the heading of your CV. And now, in writing your names, you can either decide to use the American method of writing names or the British method of writing name. Now, in the American method, your name should come first, and then your second name in the middle, and your surname at the end. While in the British method, your surname will come first, your middle name will remain in the middle, and then your own name will come last. So the important thing to note here is whatever method you are using, on no account should your surname be in the middle of your names. It should either be at the beginning or at the end. Then the next thing is the picture. Now, it is not really necessary for you to impute your picture or photograph in your CV unless otherwise stated by the employers. If not, it is not necessary because it might end up becoming a disadvantage to you. Understand? Now, let's take for instance, you submitted your CV as a beautiful lady. You submitted your CV to a company. You understand? Unfortunately, this company is being run by the husband and the wife. Unfortunately for you, the wife is the one in the recruitment to carry out the recruitment process. You understand? Now, this lady might be insecure. Now, seeing your beautiful picture in that CV, even without going through your other qualifications, due to her insecurity, might just decide that no, she does not want a lady that will come and pose a concern to herself and her husband. And for that singular reason alone, she may decide to keep your CV aside, not going through what you have on your CV or meeting you to know the kind of person you are. By just seeing your picture, she has judged you and decided not to employ you. So those are some of the reasons it is not necessary for you to impute your CV. Let's say, for instance, you did not put your picture there now. She goes through your CV and she's satisfied with it. She call you, see you in person, discuss with you, despite the fact that you are beautiful or despite the fact that you are very beautiful. She might still look at your kind of person and say, okay, this person, despite the fact that she is beautiful, she is decent, and such things may not occur because of a kind of person. So for that reason alone, she will employ. But if your picture is there, she can just judge you with that picture, and for that reason, you will not get the job. So it is usually not necessary unless the company made it clear that you should impute your picture. There are some companies that may require it, especially companies that needs front desk officers. They may require you to put your picture so that they can do their selections, some part of their selections based on the picture, since you are going to be the person to be appearing as the face of the company. You understand? So in some cases, the company do ask for pictures, but if they do not ask, it is not necessary for you to impute your picture. Now, the next thing there is the address. Now, one important thing about this address is that in writing your address, you should try to localize your address as much as possible. If you are in Lagos and they are looking for a job in Abuja, try to localize your address within Abuja, if possible, as close as possible to the company. Just try and localize your address. The reason is because some companies tend to give preference to people that are around, people that are in the same cities with them, for the reason of, maybe, let's say for instance, the company is recruiting and they want somebody that can start up immediately. Understand? If they are in need of somebody that can start up immediately and they are in urgent need of a worker, they will not want somebody that is coming from afar, because they will put into consideration how the person is going to have to move to Abuja from Lagos and then try to settle down before he can focus on his work. So they will put all those into consideration, and for that reason, will prefer people that are around the vicinity of the company. You understand? So when writing your application, your CV, try to localize your address to where the company is. In as much as you know, you can be able to meet up and all that. Just localize it. It will help increase your chances. You cannot, if you are in Enugu or wherever you're looking for a job in Abuja, localize your address within Abuja. Then the next thing is the sex, which is your gender, female or male. It is necessary. Then your date of birth, also it is very necessary. Now, in the case of this date of birth, this it is very important that when writing a CV, you always tag the CVs. You understand? It's very important that you always tag the CV. Now, for instance, because in some cases, in your course of searching for a job, you may have submitted so many applications, understand? And when call will come, sometimes you may not even be able to acquaint yourself with the company or the things that you submitted in your CV to that particular company, probably because it has been a long time ago. Now, in this case, there was, due to the fact that this age restriction in CVs, there is tendency for so many persons to alter their ages, because in some cases you will see a company will tell you that they don't want somebody more than 25 years or somebody more than 28 years or somebody more than 30 years. There is usually age restriction, and due to the desperation of getting a job, there is tendency for so many persons to alter their age. In cases like that, if you do not tag your CV, you might run into problem not knowing the age that you actually wrote in that particular CV. Now, this thing happened to me some years ago while I was still searching for a job. Now, due to this age restriction thing, on several occasions I've altered my age and all that. So there was this particular job interview I had to go to, and because of this age, I've also altered my age. So when the message came, I quickly took my things and went for the interview. On getting there, I went into the interviewing room. The lady welcomed me, asked of my name, took my CV, went through it, and the next question she asked me was, what year was I born? And I had to think for like some seconds before I answered. And the moment I had to think, her content has changed, because it is expected that you don't have to think to know your date of birth or your year of birth. So she knew that I have played some kind of game with the age, you understand? So at the end of the interview, I already knew that, even though I know I tried, I already knew that in that area I have messed up. So that is the reason why it is very important that you always tag your CV, so that whenever maybe a call or interview opportunity come, you can be able to acquaint yourself with the particular things that you imputed in that CV for that job. So in this date of birth, always know the date of birth, the year, particularly the year that you use for any CV that you prepare. Then the next there is the marital status. Also, in some cases, this marital status is not necessary. It's not necessary that you add it. The reason why it is not necessary is that, unless maybe it can only be necessary if maybe the company requests for it. But in case where the company does not request for it, it is not necessary. Now, the reason why it is not necessary is that there are some jobs whereby preference are given to maybe single persons or to married persons. Now, it's like, say for instance, those jobs that are financial based, maybe where you have to handle finances and all that. In most cases, companies tend to look out for people that they can attribute the term that they are responsible to, like they will prefer people that are responsible. And one of the criteria for determining the responsibility of a man or somebody is through marriage. Once you are married, they tend to you tend to give the impression that you are responsible. So in maybe in situation like that, when the company know you have to handle cash or huge sum of money, they might need somebody that is responsible. And one of the things they can use to judge is you being married. Now, in such cases, if you are writing a CV to such for such position and you are putting that you are single, it may end up becoming a disadvantage to you. You understand? Just by seeing that single alone, they might just okay put the CV aside. Now, one of the reasons because they also believe that sensitive positions like that, when they give them to a married person, the tendency for you to, let's say for instance, you want to make away with money, or maybe you do something wrong, commit an offense in the company. Now, being that somebody that has a family, a wife, and children, you cannot just run overnight. But if you are single in that kind of position and you commit such an offense, overnight you can just carry your bag and you are off. But for a married person, it will become difficult because you will not just run. You will think of how you will carry your wife, carry your children, and all that. So such positions usually they will give preference to people that are married. You understand? There are also certain jobs where preference will be given to single persons. You understand? Let's say, for instance, it's going to involve a job where you will have to be traveling as often as possible from one state to another, from one country to another. In such cases, they may prefer somebody that is single because they know that in some cases it may be inconveniencing for a married man or a married woman to be traveling week in, week out. So they prefer to give such positions to people that are single. Understand? So in such case, if you are married, it tend to reduce your chances of getting that job. But if you do not put this marital status, and they will have no option than to go through your CV and call you for that interview. Maybe at the end of the interview, even if maybe they need somebody that is responsible, somebody that is married for that position, but by talking to you, interviewing you, and how you defended your CV and every other attribute that you displayed, they may be convinced that even though this person is not married, he can still do the job. You understand? So by so doing, by removing the marital status, you've been able to get yourself to the table of consideration, and your performance will not determine if you will get that job or not. But if you include your status, it may hinder your chances of getting that job depending on what the qualities or what the company is looking for. So the if the company do not request you to include your marital status, it is usually not necessary for you to include it. And the next thing there is your telephone. You always ensure that you use a working telephone. Have a number that anytime they call will always go through. Then the next thing there is the email address. Now, in writing your email, always ensure to use an official email. Have what we call an official email that you can use for all this for your CV. You understand? Now, some persons will see their email, they will use nicknames, sexyslimmama@yahoo.com and all that. Now, the disadvantage of using a nickname for your CV is that it may hinder your chances of getting a message for of interview to come for an interview. Now let's take for instance you decided to use a nickname for your CV. Let's say you are using your nickname. Your nickname is sexyslimmama@yahoo.com. That's the email you are using. You know? Now, if for instance after going through your CV, the company decided okay you are qualified for the job and decide to send you a mail. Now, in the course of writing your email, let's say instead of writing the sexy slim mama, you write sexy slime mama, which means you omitted M. After you omitted M is the spelling, as in writing your email. Now, if that company decides to send you a mail with that omission, the mail is going to bounce back. Now, some HR they may decide to want to help you. They will go through the email to try and see if they can do one or two corrections. But now, because you are using a nickname, they will not be able to tell what the omission is. Understand? By so doing, you will lose out of that job. Now, but if you are using an official email in the sense that you use either your name or your name and your surname in creating that email. That's what we mean by the official email. You use your name, or your name and your surname to create the email. Now, if so, in such case, maybe doing writing your name, maybe when you want to write patiencepeterpaul@yahoo.com, you now omitted arrow in the Peter. Understand? Now, if this person wants to help you, why going through so if there is an omission, maybe writing the Patience Peter Paul, there is an omission of arrow. So when this HR now decides to go back to check why the email bounce, they might go through your name and see that, okay, this person is trying to write Peter. So arrow is what is missing. They will easily add that arrow and resend the mail. Then it will go through and you have the opportunity of getting that interview. But if you use those your other nicknames, it will not be able to help you. So that's why it is very important that you always try and use a name that is an official name that can easily be corrected in case of omissions. Now, the next thing there is the objective. Now, in writing this objective, you should always try to coin your objective from the company description. Understand? Now, if you are used to applying for jobs online, you will see that in every job specification, there will be a company description where the company will tell you about themselves, what they are into, their aim, their goal, and all that. So when writing your objective, try to tailor your objective to suit the goals and objective of the company. You understand? For instance, if the company is talking about their company that wants to satisfy customer, they always want to meet up with target and all that, you can then say that your objective is to meet up with customer satisfaction and meeting up with target as well. You understand? Try to coin your objective from the objectives of the company, what the company is into, what they intend to achieve. So always coin your objective from that. Then the next thing here is educational qualification. Now, the first thing to note in writing your educational qualification is your year. Now, some persons tend to write, in writing their year of graduation, they will tell you Bachelor of Science in Sociology, year 2002 to year 2006. Understand? Or 1997 to 2001 or 2002. Now, the disadvantage of doing this is that there are some cases where you may, due to maybe one or two reasons in your school, or maybe due to extension, you may not graduate as at when you have to. Now, maybe a course of 4 years, you may end up doing it for 5, 6, or 7 years. Now, if you do a course that is supposed to be 4 years and you did it for 7 years, you put 2002 to 2009, you're already creating an impression or an impression to the employees that you may not be competent for that job. Why? Because a course that you're supposed to do, you are giving them reason to start contemplating your capabilities. You understand? A course you have to do for 4 years, you are doing it for 7 or 8 years. So that will trigger trigger them to start contemplating on your qualification for that particular job. So instead of doing it that, what you simply do, just put your year of graduation. If you graduated 2002, 2002. If you graduated 2010, just put 2010. There is no need for you to start telling them when you started and when you eventually graduated. Take away that curiosity that will make them to start contemplating by just simply putting the year of graduation. Now, once you put that year of graduation, nobody knows if you did that course for 10 years or even 15 years, as long as you are just putting your year of graduation. So always try not to state your year of starting and here we just take your year of graduation. The another thing to look at for here, the company is recruiting, they will tell you what the educational require. Once they tell you the education level that they require, that is what you are meant to give. Take for example, they said they need bachelor or a BSc degree in sociology. Now, if you have masters in sociology, you are not to include it in that your educational qualification. If you have ND, you did ND in sociology or social work, you are not to include it in that educational qualification. The reason is because the bachelor of require is bachelor in science. You can give them anything. Now, when they say okay, what they need is bachelor's degree, it's because okay, it's not giving out and the salary scale that we it is a bachelor, somebody that did a bachelor degree, different 50 to 70, 50, and bachelor degree to be satisfied with that. Now, if you include a master's degree in that your educational qualification, they may feel like this person is not the kind of person we are looking for. We may not be able to pay, because it is expected that somebody that has done masters should be aiming at a salary of maybe 150, 200 to 250, you understand? So they will have this belief that they may not be able to meet up with your salary demands. So for that reason, they might just look away from your CV, you understand? So if the company says what they need is bachelor's degree, what you should be putting in that CV should be bachelor's degree. Every other thing should be aside, should not be included. Every other higher degree that you have or lower degree that you have should not be included. Rather, just the bachelor's degree. You understand? So, likewise, if they require somebody with diploma for a job, they may have estimated a salary scale of maybe 20 to 30, and they know that somebody with a bachelor's degree may not want to work with a salary of that range. So if you are submitting a CV with a bachelor's degree for that job, they may not consider you, because they already have the belief that you may not desire the kind of salary that they want to pay for that particular position. So, but if you know you need the job and you have the ND certificate, keep your BS certificate aside and use your ND to apply. The only reason you should be including other qualifications or higher qualifications apart from what they require is if they state it. Some companies may tell you that a master's degree will be an added advantage, or a master's degree will boost your chances, you understand? So it's only when they request for an additional higher qualification that you start adding those other higher qualification, your masters, your PhD, or whatever. You understand? So, but if they do not request for higher certifications or higher, just what they need, even if you have the other qualifications. Now, in some cases, you may maybe even as a master degree holder, you may have searched for a job and not seen a job. So you are even willing to take the 50 to 70,000 naira salary. You are willing to do the work, but by including your master's degree, you have already excluded yourself from the possibility of getting that job. Understand? Even though you know that you need it. So that is why it is important that you give the company what they request for. If they request for BSc, give them BSc. If you have the BSc, if they request for master, give them the masters if you have the masters. So that is one of the things. Then also all these some persons include their WAEC certificate, include primary C certificate with their CV. All those are not necessary unless otherwise stated by the company. You understand? Now, like in some federal jobs, they may want to see your WAEC certificate or a primary school certificate, all in the bid to maybe to be able to ascertain your age and all that. But if it is not stated, it is not necessary. Just go for what they want. Also, because as a fresh graduate, you are expected to have your CV is expected to be just between 1 to 3 pages. You understand? So if you are adding all these irrelevant things, your CV will become bulky and thereby creating problems for the HR of that company. Now, the next thing here is the professional certification training. Now, this is where these courses that you are doing comes in. You understand? Like I said, they help boost your CV. For instance, you did engineering. You are applying for a job of engineering, and you did a safety course. If you include it in this section, now this will help to give the company that you have something extra that you can offer to their company. There are also job opportunity for safety personnel, for project management, human resources, direct jobs. For that, with these certification courses, you are equally qualified to apply for those jobs. Now, one thing you should note here in this professional course certification is that when writing your professional course certification, always include the areas that you covered in those courses. Now, for instance, in some safety jobs, you will see where they will state the things, your responsibilities, and the things that they expect you to do in the company. They will tell you, it's okay, they will tell you the person will be running hazard analysis, incident investigation and inspection, fire prevention, and all those things. They will list all those things, the things that they want you to do. What you do is that in writing your professional qualification, try and pick those things that they require, those things that they want you to do that are listed there. Pick them and impute them under the things that you did in your safety training. You understand? There are some that are not here, like what do they call it? Safety on scaffolding safety and all that, oil safety and all that. You can just, all you have to do is pick those things that they require, even if they are not amongst the ones that are listed here. Go through the job profile, pick the things that they require and impute them as part of the things that you learned in the course of the training. All you have to do is go online, the ones that are not here or that are not among these ones that are here, simply go online, study them, prepare, and go for the interview. So you take advantage of this safety, pick all those safety related things that are listed in that job profile, impute them as part of the things that you did, and you are good to go. So that's it. So this is where you put your professional course training. Then the next thing there is the professional membership. The professional membership helps give you an edge in your CV, in the sense that as a member of an association, it tends to give the employers confidence. Understand? Because they believe that you are in an association, your information are with that association, and if anything should happen, they can easily get to you through that association. You understand? So if you are a member of any association that is recognized, it is important that you impute them in your CV, as it will help boost your chances, because it helps give confidence to those that are employing you understand? Now, the next thing here is the work experience. Now, in writing your work experience, always try to list out your duties. Understand? The duties, you write your company, your position, and then you impute the duties, the things you did in that company. And this is one place you can use for your advantage. You understand? Now, in writing this, you can go through the company profile, you understand, and pick some of the things that they are listed as your responsibilities and also impute them in your duties as the things you did in your previous company. It will also help boost your chances as well. Understand? Then also, in most cases, most corporates believe that they don't have experience, they are fresh and there's no experience. No, you can use your NYC, your 1 year NYC is a work experience. You understand? It's a work experience. It means you already have a 1 year working experience. And you can use this NYC to your advantage. You understand? For instance, they are looking for a, a secretary in a company. You're looking for a secretary, and now you did your NYC school. Now, in writing your work experience, you do not necessarily to put that you did your NYC in a school. Rather, try and put a company or a job that is related to what they are looking for. Understand? Now they said they need a secretary. So instead of putting that you did your NYC in secondary school, you can say you did your NYC in a Nnamdi and Sons Associates. You understand? As an office attendant. You understand? Now the job responsibility between an office attendant and the secretary are almost related. You understand? So even though you did not do it in that position, you use this NYC to your advantage. Put what you know is related to the position they are looking for as what you did in your NYC. You understand? For instance, they are looking for a a radiologist in a hospital. You understand? And now probably as a medical student, you did your NYC. You know Nigeria, you can do your NY. A doctor can be teaching in school as part of their service. Now, instead of putting that you taught in a school or something that's not related to to the medical department or aspect, you can simply put that okay, you did your NYC in a Nnamdi and Son Diagnostic Center as an assistant radiologist. You understand? Now they are looking for a radiologist in a hospital, and you already have a 1 year experience. To them, you already have a 1 year experience working as in a radiological center. You understand? That will help boost your CV. So always ensure to use all these things as an advantage to you. And also, what you have to notice that in writing these things, in trying to coin your NYC to suit the job you are looking for, always try to use a place that is not too how will I put it, prominent. For instance, like I said, maybe you are looking for a job as a radiologist in a hospital. You understand? Now, because you want to use your NYC to your advantage, you now said you did your NYC as a radiologist in FMC. Now, FMC is a very popular hospital, it's a federal government hospital. It will be easier for that medical department to contact FMC to know if you actually did your service in that hospital. And if you did not do it, it will pose a problem for you. You understand? So use uh, names and companies that cannot be traced. You understand? And use them to your advantage. Then also another thing that your IT also, your industrial training you did in your final year or your third year in school is also extra skill. Extra skill is talking of. So the extra skill is talking of other things you can do aside your qualifications, your official qualifications. Here you can include, maybe you can make hair, you can include them, you can do makeup, driving, dancing, any other thing you can do that you know that can be of importance as well, aside from what you have listed officially in your CV. Now, this could also be of advantage to you in some cases. Now, there is a case of a man in Abuja. Now, this man works, before I was working with a master chef as a major, as a marketing manager and all that in master chef. And after a while, the issues came up and the man was dropped from the company. Now, this man started looking for a new job. So he got an opportunity to go for an interview in another major company as a manager. Now, on getting there, after the interview and everything, he did his best and they were told that they would get back to them. Now, after about 2 3 days of waiting, the man called back to the company to inform that we did an interview. They said they will get back to us, but for some reason he has not gotten any reply. This also is a reason why whenever you submit an application, it is important that after the interview, when they say they will get back to you, after a while, always ensure to call back to check on your performance or on the company to know if there is anything for you. You understand? Because in some cases, usually the company must at least try to get back to you to either tell you if you made it or maybe you did it. You understand? So if you don't get any such call or text message, try to call back to know what is happening. So after about 3 4 days, this man called back. The company told him that he did an interview and they said they will get back to him. But till now there was no call or text or whatever. So the company, the lady that answered the conversation, the secretary apologized and said we are meant to send a message, but due to some certain reasons they could not send. That position has been given out. Understand? Has been given out to someone else. So the man said, "All right, no problem." So the call. A few minutes later, the secretary called back and told the man that he saw in the CV that he has a driving skill, that has been a driver for over 5 years driving experience. You understand? That they have a position of a driver, somebody to drive their MD in the company if the man will be interested, that the pay is 30. When the man heard the pay, somebody that was collecting over 300,000 previously, offering him an opportunity or a job of 30K, the man was even pissed and then the call. You understand? He was not interested and ended the call. So after about some weeks of being jobless, women, pressure from the wife and all that, just for him to at least leave to avoid all those complaints from the wife and all that, he had no option but to call back to the office and said, ask if the job was available and that he was interested. So the secretary said it was available, so the man was employed as a driver to the MD of the company. You understand? Now, in the course of the driving the MD and all that, the MD was to have a seminar to present to a company and all that. So after the seminar, the MD came back to the car. He was grumbling that this light was not properly arranged and all that. He was unhappy. So the driver picked interest and was like, "What was happening? Why are you your containers and all that?" So the man explained to him and the driver was like, "Oh, in his previous company, this was what he was into, preparing slide and all that. That the man should not worry. That the next time he is to go, he will help him prepare the slide and all that in the proper way to present the same and all that." So he did, and luckily for him, when the man went for a representation, everything went perfectly and they got that contract. So the MD was very excited and was like, "How come you are so good in this? How did you end up being a driver?" So the man explained everything, and from that day on, they became friends. Anytime the man wants to do a presentation like that, we hand it to the driver will help him prepare, and they were winning contracts upon contracts. So from that, they became close friends, and the MD decided to make the driver his PA. So right now, as I talk to you, the man that was the driver is now the one representing the MD in any of the seminar presentation and all that all across the world. Today he's in US, tomorrow he's in Ghana and all that. So just by that putting as part of his extra skill in driving experience of 5 years, he was able to get opportunity to become a PA to the MD. And now that PA position is even bigger than the position of the manager that that he applied for. Now he makes money in hundreds of thousands, allowances alone are in hundreds of thousands and all that. In fact, more than what he was even going for, which is talking about the manager position he was going for. Some of all these things, in some cases, may turn out to become something that will open door. So anything you know you can do aside from your professional qualifications, you can include them in this column of your expertise, and they may turn out to open doors for you. Then the final thing there is the referee. Now, most is usually necessary for you to include your referee. You can simply state that to be submitted on request. Instead of writing your referee, just put to be submitted on request. If the company needs the referees, they will inform you after the interview. They will inform you that they need a referee. You can give to them and contact the person as well. And also in writing your referee, always ensure that you inform those. If you are to include referee, always ensure that you inform those that you are as your referee, so that in case they are called, they will be able to speak good of you and help you in getting that job. So that is all. Thanks for your time. We'll meet later for your questions and I will answer. Thank you very much.